IEPs, also known as an individualized education plan, is a document that outlines the special education services that will be provided to students who qualify. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, is the federal law that guarantees students with special education needs the right to a public education. This means that all public schools must provide some type of special education services for students. What about private schools? Are they required to have IEPs? Well, we'll answer these questions and more on today's episode of Tenney Tube. Before we jump into it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed. And make sure to check out our other Tenney Tube video here where we discuss how to develop social and emotional skills. So let's go back to answering the question whether private schools are required to have IEPs. Since private schools are not federally funded, they are not required to build and maintain special education programs. This doesn't outright mean that a private school won't accept a student with an IEP. Some students, such as the Tenney School, have specialized one-to-one education, which would allow them to work with special education students. This is a great option for students who have a learning difference, ADHD, or high-functioning autism. Alternatively, if a private school is not equipped to handle a student's needs, they may be inclined to deny enrollment. Are there private schools that specialize in IEPs? When it comes to the legal definition of IEP, the answer would be no. However, many private schools will still provide special education services. Private schools won't use the terminology of IEP as it only pertains to public or federally funded schools. Instead, private schools will use terms such as learning plans or individual plans. Each state and private school is different, so it's important to research your state and to see what private schools offer in your area. Many private schools will accept 504-based accommodations. These are accommodations that the school will develop for the student to make sure the classroom is more accessible for them. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a federal law that prohibits discrimination based on disability in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. Section 504 requires private schools that receive federal funding to provide reasonable accommodations to support students with disabilities and to ensure that they have equal access to education. Some private schools voluntarily provide services like IEPs for students with disability. It's important for parents and guardians to inquire with the specific private school about their policies and practices regarding support for students with disabilities. Each private school may have its own process of identifying and providing services to students with special needs. We briefly discussed the presence of private schools that provide IEP-like accommodations to students. These schools specialize in helping students in special education, but it does not mean that they are backed by federal funding. Public schools are mandated by FAPE and IDEA to build accommodations and programs for special education students. A private school that specializes in special education may only accept certain students or certain disabilities. This leads to many of these schools becoming extremely focused on one area of special education rather than all areas. These specifically include schools that focus on autism, ADHD, schools for the blind, and schools for the deaf. Finally, let's end things by discussing what a service plan is. The service plan is a plan paid for by the public school district that allows a student with a disability to attend a specialized private school that can work with them. If a school district feels that they don't have the means to meet a certain student's needs, instead they will place them in a private school. This allows the student to get the education they need while the district pays for it. This type of case is harder to achieve, but for parents in districts where IEP programs are lacking, this is a valid avenue to achieve the best education possible. To conclude, private schools do not provide IEP programs, but they can offer similar services. It really depends on the private school. Since they're not required to have an IEP-like service because they don't receive federal funding, it depends on the school's willingness to support these programs. This leads to the development of IEP-focused schools, which are highly specialized in types of services that they provide. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Tenney Tube. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe for more. Be sure to also hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we go live with a new video.